Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of MLB This Week. It's the MLB This Week baseball podcast brought to you each week by BaseballTalkRadio.com. My name is Rich.
And I'm Gary.
And hello, Gary. Welcome to the show. And we're going live on this show on blab.im.
Yes, Rich, a blab. And we had a little trouble the last time with this, but it's my internet, and the internet's not the best. So, but hopefully everything will work out tonight. We'll get through the show.
Yes, indeed. We're going out on a limb as we usually do. I'm using an ATR 3350 lapel mic tonight. So hopefully everything goes well.
Hope so, too. And, Rich, today I got to actually watch the Mets today on TV, and it's so great to see spring training baseball now on television. There were some games on MLB Network. I've been kind of busy, so haven't had a chance to really tune in, just flip on occasionally. But today I made a point to sit down and watch my New York Mets, and it's great to see baseball, but, it's hard this early in spring training to watch because of the, after the first 2 or 3 innings, the guys coming in there, just the names, the numbers just drive you crazy.
Yeah, they got these high numbers in the 70s and 80s. Sometimes the announcers can't even pick up the names of who is on another team. Usually, I know I was watching the Phillies the other day, and a guy came up wearing number 71. It stumped the announcers that were doing the game. They had no idea what the guy's name was for a couple minutes, but then finally came up with it. But, yeah, I agree with you. Spring training is very much a work in progress with these teams. Just a good time for everybody to get back on the field, shake off some of that rust, and start playing some baseball.
Yeah, especially the first couple of weeks, as I said, it's just you can tell these guys are going up there and just trying things out, doing things, and of course, it's good for the young guys the first couple of weeks. It just gives them a chance to shine as some of the veterans don't start right away, and so it gives those guys that are fringe or lower minor leagues to get their names on everybody's lips, So for that, it's great, and it's interesting to watch some of the minor leaguers. But after a while, with the constant turnover, and as you say, the announcers don't always keep up with it. But then again, they're in spring training also getting ready for the new season. So it's a lot of work for everybody. But it's still great to see sunshine in baseball.
Yes, it is. Taking a look around some scores just from this afternoon. Looks like Houston was a winner on Sunday that we're doing this podcast, March 6th, 2016. Boston beat the Orioles. The Phillies topped the Yankees 6-5. Your Mets beat the Braves 7-5. And the Dodgers beat the San Francisco Giants 5-2. So, as you said, you can't read a lot into spring training, but it's always better to win than lose.
Yeah, but I really don't take anything to count until the last week to 10 days, maybe 12 days, 2 weeks of spring training, because by then you want to get into a roll and start the season on a roll, and that's when you start to see guys really start to bear down. Right now, this is just guys trying to win a position. In some cases, guys trying to impress the team. And because, a lot of these minor leaguers are playing for positioning, too. The ones that have been invited to camp, more or less, will go to AAA. Some of them may go back to AA. But, you want to impress enough where they're not going to say, hey, maybe you need another year at high A ball. So, or if you want to go to AAA, they might say, you need a year at AA. So it's important to everyone at this point in time, these young guys and the older guys are getting in shape. So it's it wears on them though after a while. It is a long process. They'll still be down there at least, well, about less than a month now. But they've been down there for a couple of weeks. Some have been down there for a month already, getting in shape and getting ready. So it's a long process, but it just means that we're that much closer to the regular season.
That's for sure, and that's just around the corner, probably 3.5 weeks away now. So plenty of spring training ball to continue down there from Arizona, Florida. Like we've been saying all along, it's just a great time for baseball fans. We're all enthused. We're hearing our favorite players doing some good things out there on the field, and we just can't really wait for the season to start. But I picked this story up today, Gary. It wasn't in my original notes, but I figured I'd give it a quick shout out here. Kind of hilarious in Washington, the Nationals. Bryce Harper has a new manager with the Nationals. Rather, Dusty Baker is now managing the Nationals, and Baker's been calling Bryce Harper Royce for some reason in interviews. So Bryce has returned the favor, calling Dusty Rusty instead of Dusty.
Well, that's kind of fun. That's good. A lot of crazy stuff does go on at in spring training, and maybe Dusty Baker was trying to take Mr. Harper down a peg or two, and or just maybe trying to get on his good side by having some fun with him with his name, But lots of fun and games in the first part of spring training. We talked last week about Yoenis Cespedes and his cars. Him and Noah Syndergaard, the pitcher for the Mets, showed up on horses one day, and that kind of ended the end of the week, and the crazy arrivals that Cespedes was having with the different cars, the Lamborghini, the Alfa Romeo, and then a couple of these three-wheeled type of vehicles that he owns. Polaris, I think they're called, but they both showed up on horses one day, and this was put together by Syndergaard. Apparently, he's doing a digital series for SNY.TV, and his father was a horse trainer, Noah Syndergaard. There's Yoenis Cespedes on his mount, looking like Roy Rogers, I guess. And there's Syndergaard. He's wearing a helmet and with a camera attached to it so he could film this thing. And in the end, they made a ride around the entire complex through the backfields and in the players' parking lots. And they got off the horses, and some of the players then tried it. Kevin Plawecki, Steven Matz, and the publicity director, Jay Horowitz, he all took a spin around the complex on a horse. So fun and games the first couple of weeks of spring training, but now the manager, Terry Collins, said now it's time for baseball. So no more of that, and then it's been pretty quiet since then.
Yeah, I kind of think he had a big audience going for him there, did Cespedes, and, showing up every day with a new vehicle. It kind of it creates a little excitement, but it does take the focus away from baseball. So, yeah, I kind of think maybe somebody had a chat with him.
Yeah, but, this is a team that needed a little color and a little character and a little excitement, and if he's going to do that throughout the year, different things to keep the clubhouse loose, then it's all well and good. I don't have a problem with it at all. And it was the first week, and really he wasn't. They had reported early, so he had he was having some fun with it, and now it's all stopped. So that's good. And the games have begun, and it's time to really buckle down and work. And I think that's what they're all doing now at this point in time.
Very cool. I want to welcome our subscribers that actually subscribe to our show here on lab.im, which is a great service that that records video and audio for people like us, podcasters. And I'd like to welcome them to our family here at MLB This Week and invite everyone else to stop by our website, MLBThisWeek.com. You can check out some of the equipment we use, Gary's equipment, of course. The ATR 3350 mic is on there, the one that I'm using for this show. And I've had a lot of feedback about this mic for some reason, Gary. I've had a few hundred views when I tested it a couple months ago, and some people were really interested in it.
Yeah, it's a good little solid mic for the cost. It's not as expensive as some of the others. You can get crazy with these things, Rich, as you well know. And that's a good mic for a reasonable price. This is the other one that they make, and we will both own one of those. In fact, I used mine a couple of weeks ago on the show. I can't think of the number. ATR, what is it, 2020 now or
just
something?
happen to have it here. It's the ATR 2100.
2100.
Mike, I've got a cover on mine here.
That's a really good mic and really a reasonable price. So, we try different things, folks. Don't always pan out, and but we try.
That's for sure.
And Rich, I see that baseball is trying something new this year with a Snapchat Day.
Yes, they are coming up March the 11th. Snapchat. I've never actually used it myself, but obviously many millions of people have. Primarily the younger crowd. They take pictures, send them to one another, and they expire within usually 20 seconds, some sort like that. I don't understand the whole reason behind it, or yet the pointlessness of it myself, having not used it. But Snapchat, a multi-billion-dollar company started by a couple younger guys in their 20s, and they out to change the world with it, I guess. It's very popular amongst younger teenagers, things like that. And the world of baseball would love to draw them in with a little day dedicated to Snapchat. So if you're a Snapchat user, you'll probably be seeing some MLB content coming through your feed.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I think you can do video as well with that, but really don't know too much about it. As you say, I never used it myself. I guess baseball's reaching out now. What they have to do next is reach out to the legitimate podcasters and bloggers and get us involved a little bit, and maybe that's the next step, Rich.
Yeah, you never know. We've face an uphill battle as bloggers and podcasters usually, as far as connecting officially. But every season seems to get a little bit better. Some doors open up here and there, and that's a good thing. I know your Mets offer bloggers a day at the stadium usually. I've read about that in the past, and a lot of teams don't even do that.
Yes, and I don't know what the criteria is, but I'd like to see them do more for the podcasters as well, because we are selling a product, helping them sell a product. So it would be nice to be recognized, and it's a little bit easier on the minor league level, but I understand they can't have everybody coming in, but give people a shot without requesting these obnoxious, abnormal numbers that you have to have. I mean, somebody told me that they had applied to one major league team, and it was like they wanted 10,000 looks. This is a blogger now, a day, and I mean that's kind of. I don't even know if anybody gets that many a day. Maybe they do, but that's a little crazy, I think.
Yeah, you got to crawl before you walk usually, and that's true with podcasting and blogging. The better guests you get on start to attract a larger crowd, and by crawling and then walking, then eventually running, your show will take off and things will be good with it. But as you said, we do a hobby. This is something that we enjoy doing, and it's just a bunch of fun for us. But getting back to Snapchat here, all 30 teams will be publishing Snapchat stories filled with photos, videos, and give fans an inside look at what spring training life is really like. So that sounds pretty interesting. And it's kind of a shame that all that stuff will be gone so quickly once it gets spread out through Snapchat. That's what I don't understand about it. If it's such great content, why does it disappear within a day? Nothing seems to be held within Snapchat. It just evaporates and goes away. So maybe somebody gets it, but I don't.
And I don't know if but can you download it? I mean, I thought I heard somebody say that they use the videos and they can download it and put it on YouTube, but I don't know. As you say, I never really gotten involved with it, and I guess we're a little old for that stuff, but maybe we got to start looking into some of this stuff from now on and catch up with the young kids.
That's for sure. We'll try to give it a try. Like I said, I'm not too enthused when I hear some of the features of it, of content that just disappears like the next day or within a minute or so. To me, it's kind of a pointless thing, but somebody enjoyed it.
It would take me that long just to get the thing online, probably. It would be going off away before I could even get it online. So,
well, as we get a little bit older, we have to stay with the times, as you said. And another thing, your top story of the evening here had my attention, and I'm still not quite sure it's about, but Snapchat and confessions sort of go hand in hand sometimes. So your next story is about confession is good for the soul.
Well, yes, and for some reason I have it on one thing and I don't have it in another one. My confession is that we have given FanDuel and DraftKings a run for their money here, I think would be fair to say. And but I got to pay the bills somehow. And so I have accepted FanDuel on my website as a sponsor. It's not a sponsor in the usual way. You don't get paid money up front. It's forever whoever signs up and uses a promo code that you have. And we have tried these things in the past, and they don't work out that good. But I have decided to take them on, to use them on the show, and to try to get people to sign up. I know I've criticized their service, but I know it's hypocritical, but that's why I'm confessing my sins to everybody out there. So if you go to Mets Musings and you see a FanDuel thing, or if you listen to Mets Musings and you hear FanDuel, I'm telling you now that, I'm doing it, and it's all monetary. I've got to try to raise some money to pay some of these podcasting things. It's not cheap, and it's just one thing that I'm going to try. So that's the confession, and I feel a lot better right now.
Very cool, and I wanted to let people know as well, listeners of this podcast, that Gary started writing recently over at MetsMusings.com as well, so you'll be able to read a few days a week. Gary will have stories up, written stories down for everybody that loves to read blogs, so check it out. And like you said, patronize what you like. If you go to the website, if you like our podcast, try to click on some of these ads that we run on our websites. I know it's a little sacrilegious to ask, but it does help us defray some of the costs of what you see and hear. It's not always free. for us to do what we do. We have hosting fees, equipment fees, things like that. And we love to do the show, and we love support from our listeners.
Exactly, Rich. And it doesn't get cheap, and we're looking for ways. And again, with the FanDuel, I just figured somebody's going to do it and get money, so maybe I should try it too. But I wanted to let everybody know that I was doing that, so I don't get people writing me and saying, well, you were attacking them. I still think it's a gambling site. I still believe it's a gambling site, but there are a lot of people that are joining and that they're gamblers. So they might as well join under my promo code, which I haven't gotten yet. But,
all right. Well, when we get your promo code, we'll be sure to pass it on. In baseball this year, we're going to be seeing a lot of new things around stadiums, and one of those things will be netting. Extended netting. All different ballparks will be different, obviously. I picked up a story from San Francisco, the San Francisco Chronicle this week, talking about AT&T Park. It's going to have a lot of new netting going down almost to the end of the dugout. So when we watch baseball this year, Gary, it's going to look a little bit different, even at the stadium or possibly even on television. For years, we've had unobstructed views of the field from first to third, which is usually the most expensive seats in the ballpark. But this year, you're going to have a little additional netting in most ballparks.
well, sure, it's going to be a little different, but I believe it's something that they have to do. What's going to be interesting, too, is, though, usually the behind the dugouts is a good place to get autographs and guys will roll balls to you, but now that's going to take that away as well with the netting there. So, it's something they felt they had to do, and I still think that if people just remained on guard and paid attention to the game, they'd be okay. But that's not the case all the time, And Rich, we're a very litigious society, so anything that people can sue for, they're going to sue. So this really takes that away from them to a certain extent.
Yeah, and with the Giants in particular here, it says that the netting will go, currently it goes 20 feet high at the netting. It's going to go to 25 feet high. It's going to go from the home plate edge right on out to each dugout. So a lot of additional work has to be done at all ballparks around the league. And interesting enough, the only ballpark that doesn't need any work, according to the MLB, is the Oakland A's. It said that no adjustments are required there. So a little trivia question there. All 30 teams must participate in this. It's mandated for this season. But the Oakland A's were told that no adjustments were required. So that was the only team in baseball where it fit that bill.
And that's odd because they've got one of the worst stadiums in baseball. So that's an interesting thing right there, that they don't have to do anything, and yet they have one of the worst stadiums in baseball. But maybe they just set it. They hit it right with the netting.
Yep. So we'll have to take a look around the league once the season starts up, and that'll be an interesting story for us to follow in the first couple weeks of baseball, how the different stadiums have adapted to this new rule. Very interesting stuff here in 2016, the 2016 season. And just an update, Gary, the slide rule was put into effect. We all heard from the last podcast and in the news in the last week or two. But just today and this afternoon, in fact, it was announced that Chase Utley's will not have to serve his suspension that he was given from the MLB for that slide. He's been excused from the suspension. So we have a new rule, but Chase Utley got away with it, and his suspension has been rescinded by Major League Baseball.
I have no comment on that.
Yeah, they make a rule, and then somebody gets their leg broke, and nope, no suspension.
Well, let's just say the first time that the Dodgers and Mets play, he better be on his toes. Let's just say that.
Well, we'll have to watch for that first game with Chase Utley and the Mets. Interesting there. I don't know. I think they're going to live and let live with that myself. I don't think there's going to be any retribution. I could be wrong, but
there's got to be. Got to be retribution, especially if Noah Syndergaard or Harvey's pitching. As Noah Syndergaard said, he's there. He's 60 feet 6 inches away. He said that about the Royals when he hit the leadoff hitter for the Royals, but. It'll be the same for Chase Utley. Just don't dig in, Chase, in that batter's box because you're going to be on the ground.
Well, you heard it here on MLB This Week, so don't forget to tune in to that first matchup with the Dodgers and the Mets. Of course, it's going to be interesting. Hopefully, Chase doesn't need a doctor, but there was a doctor of another sort in the house down in Florida with the Pittsburgh Pirates the other day.
Yep, Rich, if people follow hockey at all, you know who Mike Emmerich, his nickname is Doc. He's the lead announcer for National League Hockey League telecast on NBC, and he took part in a pinch broadcasting stint at McKechnie Field in Bradenton, Florida. Emmerich joined in for the KDKA-FM call of the Pirates against the Blue Jays, and he said his day at the ballpark was a nice change of pace. Emmerich is an avid Pittsburgh Pirates fan, and he got to see Pittsburgh take a 1-0 lead in the bottom of the first on a double by Michael Morse. And Emmerich noted how alien it was for him to be in a broadcast booth while watching the Bucks. In the second inning, he shared that rooting for the Pirates has been a lifelong passion. And he said he grew up in the cornfields of Indiana listening to KDKA broadcasts of Pittsburgh games in the 1950s and 60s. Emmerich did the play-by-play in the third, fourth, and fifth innings, during which one run was scored. So it was a little hard for him, he said, too, to hold back from cheering when you're a lifelong. Even a top professional has those feelings of for their teams. So he had a hard time holding back his cheering, but managed to do so, and it had to be a big thrill for him. He is a lifelong fan, and to actually call a couple of innings, even though spring training doesn't matter. Doc Emmerich, one of the best in the business for hockey. If anybody follows hockey at all, you know him, and he is terrific. And I didn't hear a clip. I would have liked to have heard to see how he did in the baseball compared to the hockey, but I'll just say this, that I interviewed a guy on my other show, Cyclones Fevercast, who does college hockey in the off season and does baseball course in the short season A-League, New York Penn League. And he said that baseball was more difficult to do. And his reasoning is that there's a lot of downtime. The hockey is somewhat going so fast, so much action that if you have the names down, it's easy to do, and you're continuously talking. You're not trying to fill. But with the baseball, you're always trying to fill because it's a slower paced game. So I always thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and the Phillies, for that matter, have an announcer named Jim Jackson, who is actually the Philadelphia Flyers' main announcer. So, yeah, it can be done. He's a good broadcaster with the Flyers, play-by-play. And then towards the end of the season, he jumps over with the Phillies and comes back for about 6 months with the Phillies. And when the Flyers start up again, then he jumps back to hockey. But, yeah, it's great to hear Doc there. I did see that during the week. Great story there. Doc Emmerich pitching in with the Pittsburgh Pirates there. Moving on to another story here on This Week, MLB This Week. Ken Griffey made the news this week. The Griffeys, of course, a great father-son combo in baseball, and Ken Griffey, of course, being elected to the Hall of Fame, junior, that is, this year. story in the New York Times. His family does not follow in Griffey's footsteps. Griffey Jr. has a couple of kids, one of whom is a standout football player in high school right now, a red shirt senior, I believe, but he does not like baseball. Very interesting there that wouldn't follow in his father's footsteps, but he's a good football player. So could be the end of the Griffey line there for baseball, but that's the problem. A lot of the kids do not like baseball anymore, Gary.
Well, he's not only bucking his father, he's bucking his grandfather too. Both of them great baseball players, and but sometimes that's what happens. He probably played a little baseball. He probably, when you're young, you play every sport, and you make a choice somewhere along the line, and I guess football is his choice.
Yep, father and son are down there in California this week. They were doing an interview circuit, and Griffey just says that as a parent, they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you if they like a certain thing, and he's not going to push them towards baseball. Of course, he would have 100 open doors for him, probably with the last name Griffey, with what his father and grandfather has already done. But no, he's 6'4", is his son, 215 pounds. So follow a football career.
Yeah, maybe, figured the pressure would be a lot, too, if he tried to do baseball. There's not too many three-generation players. I think we had the Bell family and the Boone family, but I can't think of too many other three generations of players. So it's not an easy thing, and it's not and especially when your father is a Hall of Famer now, and your grandfather was a very good ball player as well.
That's for sure. Well, I want to invite all of our listeners to stop by baseballtalkradio.com. It's a website that you can listen to a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week radio feed. All kinds of major league teams from around the world, Japan, Europe, fantasy baseball. Gary's show is there, Mets Musings. You can listen to my other show, Phillies Talk Podcast, and you can also hear MLB This Week there. And there's a ton of other great shows, so stop by baseballtalkradio.com.
The home of great baseball talk shows.
And our next story, Gary, we got a comment this last week from one of our listeners, and we appreciate all of our listeners. We don't want to turn anybody off talking politics. We don't like to go down an avenue and talk about anybody. We've talked for and against many politicians on the show already, but we have a little politics here on our next segment of the show. So if you don't like politics, you might want to turn your radio down or your podcast player of some sort. Listen to us on iTunes. But we've got to cover these stories. We're going to give you our opinions on them. A lot of people don't like to hear that, but we're going to have to talk about it because this is our show.
Well, Rich, I'm not so sure. It's so political, but on Tuesday evening past, the MLB announced that the Tampa Rays would be taking on a Cuban national team in Havana on March 22nd. It is the first major league game in Cuba since 1999 and a big step forward in relations between the two countries. And for such an important occasion, it's only fitting that a VIP guest would be in attendance, and that would be Barack Obama. He is going to Havana, which is quite a thing in itself, I guess. But the longtime White Sox fan will be making the trip to Cuba for the game, according to the statement released by the White House. And that statement read, Americans and Cubans share a love of baseball, and this is yet another powerful reminder of the kinship between our peoples, as well as the progress we can achieve when we leverage those natural ties. So no political injecture there. It's just President Obama is going to Havana to witness this game against the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cuban national team.
And I'm going to slide down a slippery slope and saying that he should not go to Cuba.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he shouldn't come back. But, well, I would partially agree with you. We don't have any formal ties that I'm aware of diplomacy or diplomatic ties with them at this time. I believe it's still been broken, but slowly they've been opening up and allowing people to travel there. For years, you'd have to go through Canada to get to Cuba. I don't know. I never really thought about that aspect of it. Again, I guess he could have sent Biden down, but he's kind of a loose cannon, so he's liable to start World War III down there. So I don't know. I'm just gonna say that he's going there, and he's going there.
Yes, he is. And I would just have to bring up, of course, Cuba has been where it is for many years because they wanted to be there. They were puppets of Russia for many years. If you see the news article beamed back into your television sets here in the U.S., it looks like it did in the 1950s there. Why? Because nothing's changed. So I don't see...
But then they must have great mechanics because they keep all them 50 Chevys and early 60s cars running. So
exactly.
They must have some terrific mechanics down there. But
and the poor people down there were the ones to suffer. That's why these baseball players were escaping from Cuba. It's not a free society down there. It never was. And they were kept down, these people. There's no other reason for it. I don't think you should reward that kind of behavior with a presidential visit so soon after the doors have been flung open. The doors have been flung open probably for one reason, that Russia has stopped the aid to Cuba, and now they need somebody else to pick up the slack.
Sure, they need that, and they need the cash. That's the whole thing. They need the tourist dollar. They need to trade probably with us. What they produce, I have no idea, but I guess cigars, but probably sugar cane as well. I don't know. It's probably time to end that part of the Cold War and to open up ties with them. And maybe that's what they're using this for. And don't forget, Nixon went to China and that opened up things. So who knows? Maybe the thinking on behalf of the government is that with Castro resigned now, the Fidel is, I don't even know if he's still alive. I guess he is. No, I don't recall him dying, but his brother took over, and he's old. So maybe they're hoping slowly to bring them around to a more democratic point of view, and let's face it, Obama is no. How can I say this without us getting in trouble? Well, he's a little bit of a socialist, or has that lean to him. Let's just put it that way. So perhaps this can do some good in opening that up. I don't know.
I think that's what his main focus would be, because the relations aren't as good as they should be. There's a lot of things that can be done to help it. Whether or not baseball should go down there and embrace it, I think it's a little too soon for that. But que sera, sera. It seems like it's happening faster and faster. But that's our bit of political baseball commentary tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. Didn't talk bad about anybody in general, but we're just giving our opinions on the show. That's why you listen.
That's right.
So moving on with the show here, Gary, an interesting story down in New Jersey, up in North Jersey, actually. A baseball field was found to have carcinogenic material within the soil around the baseball field in the last week. Trying to bring it up on my screen right now. Got carried away with our last story. But a very bad thing there, whereas soil was tested at this baseball field, and it was found to have cancer-causing materials in the soil, which, if we remember, just the last couple years, a lot of baseball players have been coming down with brain cancers, especially on the Phillies. And so this could be pointing into a direction that maybe they would need to look into to find out why this is occurring. I don't know. Have the Mets suffered through the same sort of scenario?
No, not really. I mean, no, not that I can say. What kind of field was this exactly? Was this a minor league ballpark or just ball?
On this for the moment here, I'm trying to look it up here, but I believe it was a baseball field in North Jersey, and it was a high school baseball field. Here it is. Here, let's see. Pardon me for misplacing my notes on this. High levels of the carcinogen benzophrene were found in a section of a varsity baseball field at Lawrence, New Jersey's middle and high school campus, prompting the district to order additional soil testing on all playing fields. So that's what it was. They have a 52-acre campus there, and more testing and results are going to be released in the next 2 weeks. So they were in the process of installing a $3.6 million project to install synthetic turf on top of a varsity baseball and football field when this was found. So really good that they found it. How long it's been there and how many years have they been playing on this surface is another question.
Right. And what caused it? Was it from some sort of fertilizer? Something like that? Did somebody just dump something there? And it'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah, with the Phillies in general, they've had about 3 or 4 players just within the last 15 to 20 years come down with a specific brain cancer. Tug McGraw comes to mind, and also Darren Dalton most recently for the Phillies. A couple of coaches also came down with the same cancerous in the brain usually, and there was a lot of talk in the last couple of years around Philadelphia and what caused this. Was it something in the Philadelphia area and specifically at Vet Stadium? Because all of these people that came down with this in the last 15 to 20 years have played at Vet Stadium. So don't know what they're doing to investigate that, if anything. But in New Jersey, they've come up with a interesting find and a kind of a terrifying find indeed.
There's too much cancer around. Just too much. We're just killing ourselves with this stuff.
Well, trying to get on a better story here to end the show. You've got a good story. I noticed it come through the wires last week. Always one of my favorite type of stories here.
Well, Rich, an unknown family found 7 rare Ty Cobb cards in an old crumpled up paper bag in the house of their deceased great grandfather. The cards are all identical, come from the same lot as the prized Hannes Wagner, and likely came out of the printing period of 1909 to 1911. Now, according to ESPN, the collection was taken from the anonymous southern state where they were discovered to Newport Beach, California, and Joe Orlando of Professional Sports Authenticator rated the century-old cards in good condition and said their total value could exceed $1 million. So, you know what that means now, Rich? I'm going to tell everybody, go check your basement and your grandparents' attic or basement. You never know what you may find.
That's for sure. You could come up with a card or two and retire from your job. You never know.
You could be set up for a long, long time. So, $1 million for an old Ty Cobb card. Is that unbelievable or not? And,
that's very awesome. A great story there. And you hear them every now and again over the news wire that somebody's found a great card that nobody's ever seen before. Usually Honus Wagner and names like that are mentioned, Ty Cobb, early cards like that. And they're probably sitting somewhere in these old houses, maybe stashed away somewhere. So,
and I think at one point in time, didn't Hannes Wagner, didn't Wayne Gretzky purchase like a Hannes Wagner car for like an insane amount of money and owned it for a while, and I believe he sold it now. But it's just something incredible with the prices of these cards and stuff, and you find the right one, and this was quite a find.
Yeah, just 2 years ago, that story surfaced where Wayne Gretzky purchased a Honus Wagner card. I believe he paid 2.8 million, or let's see here, I'm researching the story right now. It just sold for $2.1 million online in an online auction, and the price paid for it, let's see here, $1.6 million prior to that. The card was sold for very similar card that sold in 2008. So yeah, these things get increase in value just from the rarity. There's not many of them around. And like Gary said, go check your basement, ask your grandparents or great-grandparents, if that be, do they remember any baseball cards? They might have them sitting in a spot right now.
And don't even know that they're sitting on a gold mine.
That's for sure. Well, rounding out the podcast tonight, Gary, you have one of our new features to the show, and that is your baseball podcast, MLB This Week, baseball site of the week. And this week it's going to be www.baseball-reference.com. That's baseball-reference.com. You can find anything you want to know about baseball on the site. We started from a guy out in Philadelphia, believe it or not, and he has about 5 of these websites, basketball, football, hockey, even has one on the Olympics. But over at baseballreference.com, you can research every team throughout all of their years in baseball, and just about anything you could think of, from some of the sabermetric stats to spring training stats, last year's results and results through the years, attendances, different days that they for instance, today's has 29 days till opening day. It's a countdown there, and also a daily type of update with birthdays and things like that, born on this date. And it's just a great site to check out for all baseball news.
Yeah, that's a pretty much a go-to site. You want to find, as you say, check out birthdays, check out stats, check out all kinds of stuff. BaseballReference.com is the place to go. Even transactions, salaries, everything is right there.
Yeah, and it's still an old school type of website. It's not one of these sites that have sold out to the big guys yet. For instance, bloggers can use it, copy and paste stats, things like that, link to different players right in their blog posts. So if you're thinking about doing a baseball blog this season, check that out, baseball-reference.com. Gonna love it.
Certainly is worth the trip.
Well, we thank everybody for listening to this edition of MLB This Week. Gary, it was a fast show, and I'm already looking forward to next week's show, if you can believe that.
As usual, Rich, always looking forward to the next show. Lots more stuff coming down the pike. Already working on some stories today. I saw a couple of good ones and couldn't squeeze them into this week, so we'll push them back to next week, but there's no time on it, so we can get it done next week. But can't wait to get on the airwaves again.
All right, and we'll talk to everybody next week. Again, if you'd like to send us a voicemail or a note, go to our website, MLB This Week. We have a service on there where you can hook your computer and microphone up or tablet and leave us an audio voicemail. We'd love to get it on the show and have you take part in the show as well. Talk to you again next week, everyone.